Yo, what is up, everyone? When should I stop using Excel and move over to Power BI? This is a trick question. This is real. Excel is still one of the most powerful tools that I use all the time. But here's one simple thing that I've noticed. A lot of Excel users that I talk to, they look at Power BI and they think they have to start all over again. I don't think that's true at all. Not even a tiny little bit. In fact, Excel users are closer to Power BI than they think. Working with tables, cleaning data, building formulas in Excel, creating pivot tables, building charts, adding filters. You've already been developing many of the same skills that make someone successful with Power BI. The tools aren't identical, we know that. But the way you think about solving business problems using either of these tools, they're surprisingly similar. So instead of asking when you should stop using Excel, the better question is, when is it time for Power BI to join Excel? One of the twin powers, activate. So you know how we like to do? Enough of all this talking. Let's do what? Let's head over to my laptop. So check this out. This is a dashboard that I created. It looks to me like a typical Excel dashboard. You can see I have some KPIs at the top. I have some charts and some slicers over here. And if I choose channel, you can see it actually filters down and it actually works. So I can choose different things. I can clear them out. I can change my date range. But every dashboard starts somewhere. If I pull back the curtain, you see this dashboard is built from 3 different tables. There's nothing magical about it. I've got bookings, I've got a list of properties, and I got a list of channels. That's it. But before I can start to answer business questions, I gotta get this data in shape. Now, I can go directly in the sheet and start changing the data, but Power Query is available. You go data, click on queries, and then if you right click here, you can go to edit. And all I did was import the data. And if you've been working with Excel, you know Power Query's been here for years. Once the data's there, you can see here's my source. Power Query automatically did some data types for me. And then I renamed some columns. So it went from booking underscore date to booking. Then I changed the data type to date time. You can see right there. And then I removed this column because I didn't need that column. So I'm going to close this and let's switch over to Power BI. Let me show you. I'm going to jump into Power Query. And if you look at my steps, you can see I'm doing the same thing. I'm changing a data type. I'm renaming a column from booking date to booking, changing my data type, and then I remove that column, right? Exact same thing. I'm not analyzing anything yet. I'm preparing it. And now here's where things get really interesting. So I'm going to close this. And these are 3 separate tables, but they aren't connected yet. My booking table has property ID and channel ID. And you can see I have my channel code. That's my corresponding channel ID. And then I have my property code, which is my corresponding property ID. And to get those values over into this table, I would use a lookup. In my case, I use XLOOKUP, and I actually had to go look up how this worked. No pun intended. I don't know. But you can see I did it for both because I brought both of them over into this table. And so I'm teaching Excel how these tables relate together. I could have solved this with Power Pivot, but in my experience, most Excel dashboards that I've seen, they use lookups. If that's you, I want you to notice something. You're already thinking relationally. You're already thinking about one-to-many relationships. Power BI simply gives you a different way to express the same idea. But instead of connecting tables through lookups, Power BI gives you something different. It gives you relationships. And so I'm simply telling Power BI how these tables are related. So there's a one-to-many relationship between bookings, which means one channel can filter multiple bookings, can be related to multiple bookings. So if I choose a channel, it'll filter this table down only to those channels that are in bookings. Same thing with properties. If I choose a property, it'll filter that bookings table only to the corresponding properties. This is probably my favorite way to think about it. Relationships don't replace XLOOKUP. They don't. They replace the need to keep writing XLOOKUP. It's the same business problem. You're connecting information from different tables. Power BI just solves it in a way that's built for larger models, larger data sets. Once those relationships are in place, building reports starts feeling surprisingly familiar. If you've ever built a pivot table in Excel, building a matrix in Power BI is going to feel a lot like home. If I go over here All I would do is I would choose a matrix visual, and then I just start choosing values. For example, like property on my rows. And so you can see every property. And then the value I want, if I just go to bookings, I have revenue. So it's going to automatically sum revenue for me. And then on my columns, maybe I want the date. So I'll go to booking date and I'm going to drag it down. It's going to give me, because it's that built-in date hierarchy, and I only want the month. And so now it just shows my month, February, March, and April. I'm just choosing fields, arranging them the way I need them, and instantly answering business questions. From there, turning that into a report with KPI cards, charts, and slices is really just building on the same foundation. Up until this point, everything we've done could have stayed in Excel. I mean, let's be honest, cleaning data, XLOOKUP. And honestly, for a lot of people, that's exactly where it should stay. If you're building reports for yourself, analyzing your own data, or creating something that only a handful of people use, Excel is still an incredible tool. It's not a database though, but an incredible tool. So this isn't really about what Excel can't do. It's about what happens when your job changes. Think about how a lot of dashboards start. You build a workbook. It solves a very specific problem. Then someone else sees it and goes, "Can I have a copy?" A week later, another team wants the exact same workbook. Pretty soon, people are emailing versions back and forth, trying to figure out which one is the latest and greatest. Now, you're not just building a report anymore. You're responsible for information people use to make real business decisions. And that's where I start thinking about Power BI. Not because I outgrew Excel, but because the solution outgrew my Excel solution. Now, instead of emailing workbooks, I can go into Power BI Desktop and I can publish this report. And I know you could do the same thing. You can save an Excel workbook up on SharePoint, but this is going to take this to another level. So I can publish this to a workspace. And so instead of emailing this about or saving this somewhere, the report lives in one place. And so I'm going to open this report. Everything that we saw in that Excel workbook, it's here. Everyone is looking at the same numbers, the same filters, the same definitions. Behind the report is something called a semantic model. You can think of the semantic model. Let's open it up so you can see what it looks like. It's the exact same thing we saw on the desktop. You can edit it. You can model it directly in the web. Instead of every workbook defining those calculations a little differently, you can think of it as a single place where all the business definitions lives. Revenue is the same thing no matter who opens the report, where they open the report from, if they open it from their phone. But here's the important part. Power BI isn't here to replace Excel. It's one of the best data entry tools I've ever used. But the report isn't the important part anymore. The trusted central data behind the report, it is. So when everyone needs the same central trusted numbers, that's when Power BI starts to make sense. And hopefully after watching this, you can see that making that move isn't starting over. You're bringing your Excel experience with you. You're still cleaning data. You're still connecting information across different tables. You're still answering business questions. You're just doing it on a platform that's designed to share those answers with the rest of the organization. Not because Excel stopped being useful, because your work became important enough that other people started depending on it. So if you've been putting off learning Power BI because you thought it meant throwing away everything you already know, think again. And if you're already using Power BI, there's another question that naturally comes next. When does Microsoft Fabric start to make sense? See you in the queue.